What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Lash Journey podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany, and today we're going to do a really quick episode on the 4 different ways to boost your service revenue in your business. So when I talk about service revenue, I'm not necessarily talking about the different ways you can scale your business, like the education route or like adding retail. Those are 2 really, really great ways to build your business smartly and not have to like necessarily trade, like your time for income. But what we're going to talk about is what the heart of our businesses mostly are, and that is like we're service-based businesses in the beauty industry. So how do we boost that revenue without actually like working harder and spending more time? And the 4 different things I want you to focus on here are getting more clients. That sounds like a no-brainer, right? But client acquisition, increasing the client's spend frequency. So how often are we getting those clients coming through the doors? And number 3 would be to increase the client spend per transaction, the average dollar amount of the sale. And number 4, the number 4 technique would be to increase your pricing. Obviously, if you increase your pricing, you're going to have more revenue. So that goes without being said, but we're going to talk about a little bit about how to actually like price and introduce price increases into your business as well. So let's get started. Okay, so number 1, getting more clients. The best thing that you can do is to really hone in on your marketing. Who is your ideal client? Who are you speaking to? What are your company's, your brand, mission, vision, and values? And how are you communicating those 3 things to your audience? So that is super important. And the second thing to really set your business up for being a client magnet is to make sure that you have like all of the proper policies and procedures in place, and that you're presenting yourself as a professional, really like positive work environment, and that you're giving the best client experience you can possibly have. So it's to be said that it's always easier to retain a client and like keep that client like throughout their lifetime value than it is to bring new people in. But what I want you to focus on is the technique you can use to bring people in. And those things are really important. I think that there's also like something to be said about running occasional, like maybe quarterly 20% off sales. We do that often, maybe for like Mother's Day or Valentine's Day. We usually do one around Thanksgiving, and we'll do it for new appointments. So it could be, it could either be like an existing client that wants to get a new service done, or maybe a person like hears about the sale or the special, and they're like, oh, I want to try this out. I've been wanting to try LaBelle. This is the perfect time. So that's why we do those things. But it's a really great way to bring new clients in to your door. Number 2 would be to increase spend frequency. So I am huge on this, and you'll hear me talk about it in some of the other podcasts, but I like to really train my students and the people that I'm mentoring to really think about adding repeatable services into their service menu. So what that means and why we see lashes do so well is because we're automatically doing a repeatable service. We know that once we get a client in the door to get their full set, it's usually a little more of an investment, and they're so in love with the results that they're keeping up with it. They're repeatedly coming back every 2 to 3 weeks to see us. And that is a good reason why like our industry does have, like we do have the ability to have a lot of revenue. But the other thing that I want you to think about, and some people are either like for or against this, or maybe they're on the fence, but like I love body waxing. So Brazilians specifically, I was never an esthetician that liked to do them myself, but I hire on people who are experts in Brazilians. And it's amazing because you can get them in there. You can, like my actual expert waxers, they can do Brazilians in 15 minutes, or less. So that is like really great repeatable income. Once you start getting waxed, the client like feels like, oh, I can't shave because I don't want to mess up the results of the Brazilian. So that's a really cool way to boost your income overall. And once we really started putting an emphasis on marketing for Brazilians and body waxing, our revenue really shot up. Brow laminations and lash lifts are another really great, easy way that you can add on a service that the client is going to fall in love with and then continue to come back every 6 to 8 weeks. So that is how you boost it that way. I also recommend, making sure that you're rebooking the client before they leave. A little trick I like to use is I like to actually rebook the client before they even check out. That way it's part of the transaction. It's like once you check out, you're done. It's not like that add-on like, oh, hey, and by the way, do you want to book in 6 weeks? We don't handle it that way. So if I want to increase my client's spend frequency, I want to make sure that they're already on my book in 6 to 8 weeks from now. So that might look like them coming out to the register and being like, okay, I love this lamination. It looks so good on you. Give them some great compliments, but then say, all right, I need to see you back in 6 weeks. Let's make sure we get you on your schedule because I want to make sure that like we have the space and that you're getting in when you need to. It is the week of July 11th. What day works best for you? So that way you're getting the rebooking right then and there. You can let them know, yeah, if you can't make it in, like you can always reschedule. Don't worry about it, but at least we have it on the books. Then you will take their tender, you will finish out the transaction, and you will walk them out the door. So, third tip we are going to talk about is the increase of the client spend per transaction. So, the average dollar amount. In this business, I really like to shoot for at least $100 an hour in revenue, and that's in the lash industry. If you're in the PMU industry, it is going to be higher than that. If you are in the hair industry, it would probably be a little bit lower than that. But I like to use that as the basis for how we start to kind of try to like goal ourselves and goal our employees to hit when it comes to that client spend per transaction. How do you raise that is the question. So if you're doing classic lashes and you're like, okay, but I do an $80 fill, 60 minutes. How do I get that up to 100? Well, my answer to you would be to have like an add-on menu that you can do little things like ask that client, like, do you want a brow wax? Can I do a brow wax for you? Can I do a brow wax and tint? Can I do anything else for you that you might have, like a lip treatment or any type of add-on that you can do with them? That way you're very quickly bringing up your $80 to $100, or maybe even you're selling a product to every single client that goes through your door. We purposely, we'll make like our lash cleanser and brush $20 because it's a really great way to like boost that up. So just get your mind in thinking about like how we can add those on. Maybe they're coming in every other time. They're getting their lashes done every 2 weeks. And maybe that like second time, like once a month, they're getting a Brazilian at the same time. So knocking two birds out with one stone. And that's like helping to increase the lifetime value of that specific client. I like to run employee contests with my girls to kind of incentivize them to really think about raising that client spend per transaction. And because my employees are commissioned, they know that this is directly related to their paychecks. Whenever we run contests to try to focus on add-ons or increasing that client spend, they automatically see a boost back in their paychecks too. So it's a win-win for everyone. And then lastly, price increases. So when I said that I like to try to hit for that $100 an hour per revenue, I also like to base my pricing around that as well. So what that could look like is just making sure that I'm keeping track of like what the timing is per appointment. And if there's any way I can shave that down, like it's automatically going to be a more profitable service and I can automatically fit more services in throughout that day. So I make sure that the timing is right and I make sure that I'm breaking it down. So just for instance, like if we had that like fill, let's say we're doing like a volume fill, and I'm going to break it down to make sure that like hourly it makes sense for what I'm charging, like for the full set, what I'm charging per hour. I want to make sure that I am at the very least hitting that $100 per hour in revenue. So, I, at one point in time when I started doing this, I had to do like a pretty major price increase for some of the services that I found were just not making the cut. I think that I've heard quite a few people say this lately, and this was the case for our business too. But we ended up finding out when we broke it down by like, okay, how long are we spending on this client? What are we charging? What is the breakdown of like what we're actually making per hour? And I started to realize that we were making less on volume lashes than we were on classic lashes. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? So there were certain prices that I had to like kind of increase once in like a big jump. And we explained it to the clients like, hey, like this is not going to be like an everyday thing. Like we just realized we haven't done a volume increase in 4 or 5 years. And it was just time for us to do that. But I liked getting everything laid out on that type of like perfect, easy playing field, because now every year when I do my little price increases, it's not like I'm having to jump up like $20 for this or $20 for that. I have everything on the same playing field, and I can like just increase it by maybe like 5%, 7%, something like that, where it's a lot smaller to the client and they're not even noticing it on that yearly basis. So, yeah, those are the 4 ways that you can boost your service revenue. Just really quick, like overview of that. There are obviously some things that I like to do that are different from my business that might work for you or might not, but I really want to implore you to think about, even if you're a solo artist and you're thinking about how can I boost my services, these are the things that you want to think of. You want it to always be in the forefront of your mind that like you're either wanting to market to get new clients, you're wanting to try to get your clients in the door more for different services, for repeatable services, or even if you're like talking them into, booking a facial every once in a while, that's an increase in the spend frequency that is going to add on to that client's yearly total. And that's what's going to help like increase your overall salary for the year. You're going to focus on getting that average transaction up per client. And then lastly, you're just going to make sure that your pricing is in line with the goals that you have for your business. All right. I hope that was helpful. If you have any type of questions about this, you can always find me on Instagram at the Tiffany Mitchell. I'm going to link everything in the show notes, and make sure that you're paying attention for all of the new drops that are coming out. If you are a salon owner and you are looking to really figure out like how to structure your business the right way for long-term success, I do have the 10-week group coaching course coming out, the Profitable Salon Blueprint, that is dropping August 21st. Doors are going to open July 21st. So stay tuned and make sure you get on the wait list, and I will talk to you next time.